Life is about shedding the darkness and embracing the light of knowledge. So let's get together and awaken our minds. Friends, hello. Welcome to my series of videos on awakening the mind. My name is Dr. Akash Ahuja and I'm a psychiatrist here in Los Angeles, California. I did my residency from Hennepin Regents program in Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota of United States. And I did my med school from Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi, India. Friends, we'll be talking about our children today. Children who are so important for us, for the community and for the country. They are the future. And we all want them to do so well in our home, at the school, and at all the levels they can go to. We tend to forget sometimes that there are certain barriers in child's progress, and we try to fix everything, but sometimes we have no idea what might be the cause of that particular barrier, and if we don't have any education about it, it becomes extremely difficult to fix it. I'll be addressing the issue which is very common, not only in India but in all the parts of the world. And in fact, on an average, 1 out of 100 kids do suffer from this particular problem. I'm going to talk about autism today. Now, what is autism, guys? When I was a kid, I had no idea. In fact, when I grew up, when I went to med school, then only I realized that autism actually is a disorder in the children which affects the way their language develops, the way they communicate with others, the way they interact in the society. And now when I look back on in my school days, I remember there were few kids who were kind of my friends who actually did have many of those symptoms, and they were not doing very well in class. The teachers always used to thrash them, and not because the kids were wrong or something, but kids have that situation of autism, but nobody was able to diagnose that. Nobody had even a slight idea that these kids are not doing well, not because they want to, it's just because they cannot, because their brain wiring is done in a very different way. So let's spend a few minutes on autism and see if we can learn something and see if we can help even one child with this particular situation. In autism, as I said, it affects 1 out of 100 children, and they suffer many symptoms, and I'll be going through them through my slides. You guys will be able to review the slides as we end the presentation. So let's jump on and learn more about autism. So in autism, children suffer many kind of symptoms in terms of their social interaction, in terms of their communication with the world, and they are very sensitive to few things. So let's learn one at a time. Social interaction. Autistic kids actually will have a very poor eye contact. When you and me will talk, or you will talk to your friends and family, we look at each other in eye, and that's how we talk, that's how we communicate. But these kids actually will look past through you. I mean, you will be talking to them, but they might look at somebody else, or they might look at the wall. So they just don't have a good eye contact. They are indifferent to other people, or that's how it appears like. If somebody in their class is crying or reacting to something, they might not pay attention at all. Not that because they are bad kids, it's just that their brain wiring is done in a way that they are very indifferent. And the teachers might not like them, the students might not like them, thinking that they are weird, they are not normal. And in some ways they are not. But again, the education part is really lacking for these children. As parents, we want to hug our children, we kiss them, we hug them, that's how we show our love. And these kids will actually accept your hugging them, but they will not hug you in return. And that can be a very big situation for the parents. I mean, it's kind of devastating when you're not getting the hug back from their child. An autistic kid can do that. They do not get social cues. So I'll give you an example. You go to somebody's home and your kid is maybe snapping his fingers, or tapping his feet, or making some sound. And you kind of, look at him or stare at him. You might give him a look, and usually the kids should understand that and they should stop doing that. But these children are not being disobedient. They just don't get it. They just don't. They can be very disruptive and physically aggressive. They can get very frustrated, impulsive, and in that they might hit another child. Again, not because they want to hit another child, it's just that they don't know how to cope with their anxiety and stress, the internal stress, and they might just lash out at somebody. And they might face a disciplinary action, which I remember many of my friends in school days faced. But nobody understands that it's because they are facing the symptoms of autism. They can be self-injurious. They can pull their hair, bang their head, and bite their arms. Not because again they want to do that, but because they have this internal restlessness, and to get rid of that, they just don't know any other avenue, and they might go with these things. Let's discuss what are the problems in communicating with the world for the autistic children. They have a delay or a total lack of the development of spoken language. They might learn few words, but pretty late as compared to the children who don't have autism. They might be able to repeat the lines or words which the parents are saying, but they will not say or respond in their own language to them. So that should be a big cue if somebody has to diagnose autism. Then they might repeat some movements. They have interest in some topics, like for example trains. Nothing wrong in learning about trains, but these children will learn about one particular topic, let's say about astronomy or stars or trains, so much in detail that they might have a debate with Albert Einstein on that, if Einstein is alive, obviously. But the point is that they will not have knowledge on 99 things, but will have all the knowledge about one particular topic on which usually people will pay no attention at. They have a lack of social imitative play appropriate to their developmental level. What that means is that they don't play in the play school. They don't interact with other children. You might see them playing by themselves and not with other kids. Friends, now let's talk about some of the symptoms which the autistic kids face in terms of their sensory needs. They are extremely sensitive to certain sounds. They are extremely sensitive to certain textures. I'll give you an example. Like, they might be okay to wear cotton, but they cannot tolerate silk, for example. They might totally freak out, and the parents might be thinking, what's wrong, what's going on? But it's because their skin can take one texture but not the other texture, and this we can only learn by experimenting that what is okay for them and what is not. They can also be very sensitive to certain tastes. They might like to eat one particular thing in breakfast, lunch and dinner. Sounds strange, but that's the way sometimes they are, and that should be okay. They are sensitive to certain smells. You go to a new place or new auditorium or a movie theater, and they might freak out just because they are smelling something which you guys might be smelling but not paying attention to it. But they can really react very strongly to any changes in their sensory perceptions. Again, with pain, they might fall down from a chair or a bed and might not cry, might be totally okay. And then maybe their smaller sister, younger sister, touches them on their hand, and they might react as if it's very painful. Again, they're not trying to create a scene. They're not trying to show that, give them any importance. This is how they are, and they are very sensitive to certain pain and touches. So what do we do? How do we handle such a situation which can impact their life at home and in school and might hamper their performance and their development as an adult? Applied behavior analysis. That's the #1 treatment. Sounds a long name, applied behavior analysis. I mean, what does that mean? It's usually done by a child psychiatrist, or at least a psychiatrist or a pediatrician. And not going into details, it's kind of like a one-to-one behavior teaching process in which the therapist, the doctor, teaches the child how to cope with certain stresses, how to cope up in different situations so that they can have so-called normal life. Very important to inform the school and the teacher as to what's going on. Don't consider autism as a taboo, please. Inform the teacher. They should know what's going on and they might be able to pay more attention. These children require more one-to-one attention as compared to some other children. Keep a predictable schedule. If the child does certain thing at 4 o'clock in the evening, then let him do it at 4 o'clock in the evening. Don't make the things confusing by changing the time too much, because that can also be very sensitive for the child. Give him simple instructions. Let's have dinner, or let's change your clothes, or something like that. Don't make it very complex that I'll give you a call at 6 o'clock in the evening and then based upon what's coming on TV, we can do this. That's too complex. Keep it simple, keep it less confusing, and the child is going to react well on those lines. Positive reinforcement. Basically, give the award to the child if he does something good. If you tell him something to do and if he does it, give him something. Vitamin B6. Some research has shown that vitamin B6 along with some magnesium can be beneficial for the children who have autism. Again, not proven though. See the psychiatrist for the treatment of aggression, impulsivity, and they can help the child by some medications. Again, kind of the last resort, but if the medications are required because the child becomes very disruptive, very aggressive, hits the people more often, then that can be very difficult for the school teachers and other students to handle them. Again, work with the teacher and work with the child, and he might do better in autism. Friends, I just want to touch base upon another disorder known as Asperger's, and that's actually kind of similar to autism, but many kids also suffer from that. And one of the major differences between Asperger's and autism is that in Asperger's, usually children don't have the delay in the language development. So they develop the language same to other kids. But they also suffer from lack of social interaction and the way they communicate with others. Let's talk maybe a minute about that. So Asperger's is characterized by a person's difficulty in everyday social interaction with others, kind of similar to autism. They may engage in long one-sided conversations. They might be talking about a particular topic, might be talking about let's say Muay Thai to somebody for like an hour without noticing the social cues that the other person maybe is not very much interested in listening to them, but they will just keep on talking. Failure to develop friendships with other children of the same age, just because again they lack the social interaction skill, communication skills. Other children might not become their friend as easily. They have very inflexible specific routines or ritual, like for example they might put, when they are wearing pants, they might put their left feet first and then the right one. Again, doesn't change anything, but it's just something to keep an eye on, that these can be signs for Asperger's syndrome. Friends, I've included some of the resources in the slideshow. So we talked about autism and Asperger's today. Both of these disorders can be very disruptive, can really affect the life of the child, can affect the life of the family, and can adversely affect the whole family dynamics, because these kids require much more attention. But it would be so nice if we educate ourselves, if the teachers in the schools educate themselves on these particular psychiatry problems, and if they all work together along with the psychiatrist to help the kid in the maximum way it's possible, so that we can get the most out for the child in terms of he's doing well in school, home, and become a great citizen. Thank you so much for listening to the video.